Henry V and the 100 Years' War, the March to Calais. The 100 Years' War, a protracted series of conflicts between England and France, witnessed some of its most dramatic episodes during the reign of Henry V. Known for his military prowess and determination to expand English influence on the continent, Henry V's campaigns in France marked the high point of English dominance. One pivotal moment in this saga occurred on October 8, 1415, when Henry embarked on a grueling march to Calais after his hard-fought victory at Harfleur. This march, plagued by illness, attrition, and French resistance, became a testament to Henry's leadership and his army's resilience. The context: capturing Harfleur. Henry V's ambitions in France were driven by a complex web of dynastic claims and political motives. He believed in the legitimacy of his claim to the French throne through his great-grandfather Edward III. By 1415, he sought to enforce these claims with a bold military campaign, setting his sights on conquering key territories to establish a strong foothold in France. The port town of Harfleur, situated on the Seine estuary, was his first target. The siege of Harfleur began in August 1415 and was supposed to be a quick and decisive victory, opening the way for Henry to march deeper into French territory. However, the siege lasted far longer than expected. Harfleur's stout defences, combined with fierce resistance from the garrison, delayed the English advance until October 7. Although Henry ultimately took the town, it came at a steep cost. His army, numbering over 12,000 men at the start of the campaign, was severely depleted by the time the town fell. The prolonged siege, coupled with the spread of dysentery and other diseases, reduced his effective fighting force by nearly half. The situation was further complicated by the need to garrison Harfleur, leaving Henry with around 8,000 men, many of whom were weakened and sick. Strategic realignment: the decision to march to Calais. Henry's initial plans were to push further into French territory, possibly toward Paris, in a show of English strength. However, the lengthy siege and subsequent toll on his men forced a strategic recalibration. Henry needed to preserve his forces and maintain a safe retreat route. He decided to march his men to Calais, a port town under English control, where they could regroup, rest, and receive reinforcements. The march, which began on October 8, was not just a tactical maneuver, it was a test of endurance and leadership. Henry's decision to march to Calais carried considerable risks. The French, though initially hesitant to engage the English head-on, began to mobilize in earnest once news of Harfleur's fall reached them. The French nobility, under the command of Charles d'Elbray, the Constable of France, and various regional commanders, mustered their forces to intercept Henry's retreat. As Henry moved north, the French shadowed his movements, seeking an opportunity to trap and destroy the English army. The march: hardships and challenges. The journey from Harfleur to Calais was approximately 260 kilometers and took the English army through the heart of Normandy and Picardy. Henry's men were already weakened by disease, hunger, and fatigue. The local population, incited by French commanders, engaged in a form of scorched earth policy, destroying food supplies and harassing the English as they moved through the countryside. Villages were abandoned, bridges were destroyed, and roads were blocked, further hampering the English march. To avoid large French forces, Henry was forced to take a circuitous route through towns such as Amiens and Nesle. The army crossed several rivers, including the Somme, often at great difficulty. The crossing of the Somme proved especially dangerous, as the French had fortified key crossing points. Henry managed to find an unguarded ford at Aent Cor, demonstrating his resourcefulness and ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Despite these successes, the English army was continually harried by French skirmishers and faced mounting casualties due to disease and exhaustion. Morale and leadership. Throughout the march, Henry's leadership was critical in maintaining morale and discipline. His men, though battered and beleaguered, remained loyal and determined. Henry's personal courage, his ability to inspire his soldiers, and his willingness to share in their hardships solidified his reputation as a warrior king. He moved among his men, encouraging them, and often shared in their rations and bivouac, reinforcing the bond between monarch and army. Henry's speeches during this period were designed to rally his troops, emphasizing honor, glory, and the righteousness of their cause. His ability to lead by example, coupled with his strategic acumen, ensured that the English army continued to march despite the overwhelming odds. The outcome: arrival at Calais. By late October, Henry's army approached Calais, having successfully evaded the main French forces. The march, which lasted nearly 3 weeks, had taken its toll. The army that arrived at Calais was a shadow of the force that had set out from England. Disease had continued to ravage the ranks, and many men were left along the roadside, too weak to continue. Yet, the fact that the English reached Calais at all was a remarkable feat of endurance and perseverance. For the French, Henry's march was both a frustration and an embarrassment. Despite their numerical superiority, they had been unable to prevent the English from reaching their destination. However, they had succeeded in weakening Henry's force to the point where the English could no longer pose a serious threat in the short term. Nevertheless, the French sought to redeem themselves by confronting the English on the battlefield. The prelude to Agincourt. The arrival at Calais did not mark the end of Henry's campaign. The French, determined to avenge the humiliation of Harfleur and the audacity of the English march, moved to cut off Henry's retreat. The result was the Battle of Agincourt, fought on October 25, 1415. This battle, which would become one of the most famous in English military history, was fought under conditions shaped largely by the events of the preceding weeks. The exhausted and outnumbered English army faced a much larger French force, yet through a combination of tactical brilliance, terrain advantage, and the resilience of his men, Henry achieved a stunning victory. Thus, Henry V's march to Calais stands as a remarkable episode in the 100 Years' War. It demonstrated not only his strategic foresight and leadership but also the tenacity and courage of his army. The hardships faced by the English during this march set the stage for the subsequent triumph at Agincourt, cementing Henry's reputation as one of England's greatest military leaders. The march to Calais, despite being a retreat of sorts, ultimately became a prelude to one of the most celebrated victories in medieval warfare, reinforcing the legend of Henry V and the indomitable spirit of his army. Thanks for listening. Like and comment. And please subscribe, as that will help us get more videos out to those interested in the Middle Ages. See you next time on Medieval Chronicles 1066. Stay curious.